Hey everyone, my name is David Fish and welcome to Fish to Go, where I do movie and TV show reviews, make lists, do essays, all of that fun stuff for you to take on the go. And in today's video, I'm going to be revisiting David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin's Facebook movie, also known as The Social Network, which debuted to US audiences 10 years ago this week. It's kind of hard to believe it's been that long. I distinctly remember seeing the film in the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood, the iconic theater, with my buddy Jason. We were just bustling filmmakers in our early 20s, just trying to make it in the game. And after all the critical hype and our personal fandom for Fincher, we giddily left the theater thinking this was one of the best films of the year. Certainly a lot better than the film that would go on to eventually win Best Picture at the Oscars that next year. It's a film that I will not personally name here though.
And the Oscar goes to The King's Speech.
No!
Ian
God,
Cannon,
please, no!
Emil Sherman.
No! Hey, Academy, it didn't deserve it. Flashing forward to the end of 2019, a lot of critics have hailed The Social Network as one of the best films, if not the best film of the decade, and yeah, I kind of agree. And that's something that's also hard to fathom. There were so many incredible films that came out this past decade, but this particular film took the crown even though it debuted at the beginning of it. And that's because a lot of it has to do with the context and history of the social networking site that the film depicts that very much influences our world that we're living in right now in 2020. As if the year couldn't get worse. I'm going to take a look at why The Social Network is actually a better, more dynamic film than when I saw it 10 years ago, so stick around. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, subscribe, and ding that bell so that way you can help support the channel and get notified as soon as content drops. And before I forget, if you have any movie or TV show recommendations for me to review, be sure to leave those in the comments down below, as well as your opinions on today's film. When it was announced that a movie called The Social Network was going to be released, it was met with obvious skepticism. The Facebook platform itself had just started to become a part of millions of people's lives, but it was enough in its infancy to suggest that a whole film about the making of the platform could have easily been some routine millennial-focused Silicon Valley comedy like, say, The Internship, or something silly and stupid like The Emoji Movie. Like, you look at The Emoji Movie and think, how could they possibly make 100 minutes out of that? Well, they did. And it was terrible. But the intrigue kicks in when you realize the project is actually adapted from the book The Accidental Billionaires by Ben Mesrich, which details the very, very early stages of Facebook, or rather, the Facebook, and its co-founders, Mark Zuckerberg and Eduardo Saverin. Though controversial at the time in its depiction of Zuckerberg, as well as having a few sources to source from, it was adapted by Aaron Sorkin, who gave us The Great Sports Night and The West Wing, as well as Broadway plays such as A Few Good Men, which was adapted to film in 1992. Okay, wow, so you've got the great, talented Aaron Sorkin on board, and then you've got David Fincher, who had just come off of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. And while I do have some strong opinions for that particular film, it at least gave Fincher some love at the Academy Awards with a ton of nominations. Jesse Eisenberg hops in the lead role, who sorta kinda looks like Zuckerberg, at least enough to quell the debate of the lookalike front, and even gets billed higher than Justin Timberlake of all people. And arriving on October 1st, 2010, the media-frenzied Facebook movie The Social Network was out in theaters. Comparisons to Citizen Kane were out and about, and there was just as much love for the technical aspects as for the screenwriting, directing, and acting. So yes, when I saw it, I was on board with what everyone was saying, and I thought the hype was very well met. I was also in film school at the time, when every film I saw I was super analytical about and tried to make sense of every little detail in the framing and the music choices and the color and what it all meant, so in a way, in hindsight, I'm sure I saw this movie with rose-tinted glasses. Prescription kind. But I just rewatched this movie in my home theater in maybe 7 or 8 years, now out of film school. Does the film still hold up? Actually, I'm going to go so far as to say it's a better film than when I saw it 10 years ago. And of course, nothing can compare to the experience of seeing it on one of the best screens in Los Angeles. But a big screen a good film does not make, so seeing the film again on a screen maybe 50 times smaller, I don't know, I'm not good at math anymore. Seeing it now as just the film, it's better because of the context and time it now lives in. As mentioned earlier, the book The Accidental Billionaires gives us the not-so-sunny side of Mark Zuckerberg. But Aaron Sorkin's adaptation provides a richly detailed and almost eerily prescient dark side of the founder that feels like a foresight into the founder we know today to be a money-grubbing smart aleck, out for himself and stealing your content and security kind of guy. And with the combination of the way Sorkin scripts the main character, actor Jesse Eisenberg's mechanized and curt delivery, the over-talking, quick-cut editing, and ultimately Oscar-winning techniques employed by Angus Wall and Kirk Baxter, the steely hues and cinematography of Jeff Cronenweth, and the cold and numbing digital soundscapes of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's score, The Social Network subliminally seeks to cement that very idea we have of Zuckerberg. Not to sound all flowery and poetic, but it's as if painting a portrait with an absolute understanding of the individual subject that, to anyone else who doesn't know the subject, but eventually will, it's as if you've seemingly predicted the future. And that's what's so interesting about the ending of the film, which ends rather anticlimactically because obviously Zuckerberg and Facebook are still living and thriving, so we can only rely on what was the end in 2010. But you can also consider the ending climactic in that it successfully bookends the film with a line suggesting Zuckerberg is an asshole or a bad guy.
You're gonna go through life thinking that girls don't like you because you're a nerd. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that that won't be true. It'll be because you're an asshole.
You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying so hard to be.
It gives the viewer the sense that while you've seen the trajectory of the Facebook brand and the deterioration of friendships and relationships over the past 2 hours, Zuckerberg hasn't changed from his early days at Harvard. And sure, I guess you could argue that because the main character doesn't change, that nothing happens in the movie. But I would disagree with you. I would say that is the inherent mastery of Aaron Sorkin's screenplay, to whittle down the most crucial elements of character to understand the character as a whole, ensuring The Social Network to not just be a film about Facebook, but a character study into what motivates people to do what they want to do, whether you like it or not. And sure, you could argue that that makes a character unlikable, but that's the point. The film's depiction of Zuckerberg seems to be that of a young man with the power of the keyboard who basically started his idea after getting overly emotional about a girl he was seeing and blogging about it for the world to see. And with the rise of the opinionated quote-unquote young man behind the keyboard on the internet, with millions of people given their own opportunities to spread their opinions without any true identity by the likes of a tweet or a Facebook post, it's become more difficult to see how his influence was initially made to bring us all together. The Social Network seen in 2020 with this lens gives us the impression that it is less a biopic of Zuckerberg, but a highly artistic and articulated reflection of the genesis of division in our modern day society. So perhaps 10 years ago, the film ends with us seeing the many things Zuckerberg has become and can still. But now, with his continuing refresh of Erica Albright's friend request, he comes off as sad, lonely, and emblematic of a generation who are dealt constant congressional hearings about trustworthiness in political ads, and selling your personal data with manipulated consent, and defending content even if it spreads false or even tragic, desensitizing information. So of course, we have our own opinions, but Zuckerberg found a way to broadcast each and every one of them. The film was a masterfully well-made story in 2010, but like all of the best works of art, context redefines and renews the very conversation it was starting up in the first place, which is why it'll be interesting to see what this film has to say 10 years from now. So that's my take on the film The Social Network, and I guess you can compare it to a fine wine. It just gets better with age, to the detriment of society. As of this recording, you can stream the film on Netflix, and obviously I cannot recommend it enough. Thanks for watching this video, and I would love to open the dialogue to you. I want to hear your opinions on this film, and of course I need more of your movie and TV show recommendations for me to review, so be sure to leave all of that in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a huge thumbs up, a subscribe, and ding that bell, so that way you can help support the channel and be notified as soon as new content drops. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm David Fish, for Fish to Go.